Hello and welcome to Conversations in the Wine Cellar. I'm your host, Tony Massey. I'm so excited for you to be here this evening, and I switched it up a little bit. Usually we're down in the basement in the wine cellar, hence the name of the show. But this time I have a topic that requires a little more intimacy. So I invited my friends, my panel, up to my apartment, and we're gonna just talk it up a little bit, right? We're gonna talk about something that I think all of us have had to deal with on some level at some point in our lives, and that's forgiveness. So when we get back, I'm going to introduce my panel, and we're going to talk about forgiveness. How do you forgive? When do you forgive? Who do you forgive? Stay tuned. You don't want to go anywhere.
Wow.
Welcome back to Conversations in the Wine Cellar. As promised, I have my illustrious panel here. I'm always bringing beautiful people around. I just love these people so much. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right into the topic of forgiveness. So, starting over here to my left, of course, she's back. The queen herself. Tell them who you are and what you do.
I am Kivia Jones, the owner and CEO of Queenland Studio.
Awesome. And then, of course, my man, 100 grand right here. Yeah.
My name is James Williams, former NFL player, poet, life coach. We do it all.
Absolutely. And then I'm gonna come over here to my right. I always mess up your title, so I'm not even gonna try. It is my friend Tiffany. Tell them who you are. I like what she said.
I'm Tiffany Simple, and I am co-host of Black Coffee and Relationship Realist.
Relationship realist. Get it right. Get it right. Now, I'm geeking a little bit right now because I'm in the presence of greatness, and when you know you're around greatness, you can feel it. Right here is you. Tell them who you are. I like the way you tell them who you are.
Hey guys, my name is Shy. I am the host of Shy Talk TV show and Shiloh Radio, and owner of Shiloh Entertainment right here in Houston, Texas. And I'm so excited to be on the show, and I have the honor of bringing my awesome husband, Mr. Dante Claiborne, to the show today.
Hubby?
Yes.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
We're here.
We are here.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So I have my panel here. You see they're very talented, very accomplished, and I know they're very opinionated. That's why I brought them to the wine cellar, to my place, the wine cellar. So let's talk about forgiveness. Now let me give you a lead in, okay? Now recently we all know about what happened with Kevin Hart and his wife, his former girlfriend, his wife, Anika Hart. Like he got caught cheating, and to date, it seems that she's forgiven and let it go. It looks like, from our vantage point, that they're back together again and they're doing their thing. So the question I want to ask first is forgiveness possible after a catastrophic event like cheating?
Oh yeah, it's definitely possible, but I think in order to get to a place where you can forgive somebody, you have to keep in mind that the forgiveness is for you. It's not for the other person. If you hold on to the fact that, okay, well, I need to figure out how to forgive them so that I can maybe learn how to love them again or get to a place where we're happy again, you'll never get to that place, because the selfish part of you is going to question, why am I willing to do something for this person that hurt me? But if you look at it as the forgiveness stage is for me, for my own self-happiness, then it makes it a lot easier, and you can get through that part a lot quicker than you usually would, I would say.
I know, you talked that bit. Talk to me, brother.
What we call forgiveness in this situation of cheating may not be catastrophic to the person who's been cheated on.
Wow.
This is true. This is true.
Break that down.
That was good.
I got
That
a
was
prime
really
example,
good.
and I know this may sound crazy to some people, but when I found out how people balance and look at sex, love, and relationships, is totally different.
Right.
I was watching MTV,
Okay.
and the porn awards was on, and this lady got up and said, "I would like to thank my husband for being on the set with me, for helping me through XYZ movie."
Right.
And just his love and care for me during this time. But I'm saying, but look, it's so many pockets of life.
That's not my truth.
But I'm saying the sex wasn't important the way people look at it in a relationship. They were married and they're still doing
There was
movies.
no breach.
Porn movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Porn awards.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such thing.
Oh, it's big.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I reward
I
everything.
mean, it's a big enough industry.
Yeah,
So,
it's
I
huge.
mean, so those people are married and they're upset because they don't look at sex the way somebody else does.
Right.
Well, we've discussed that infidelity and sex are not necessarily always a part of the equation. Sometimes
Sure.
you can be unfaithful and not have sex, right?
Sure, very
Yeah,
So,
sure.
Tiffany, talk to me. Talk to me about forgiveness and putting back together a relationship the way the heart seemed to have done.
Okay, so for me, in speaking in truth, and I like to deal in facts. When you talk about forgiving someone, I think it's real cliche when people say, you have to forgive them so that you can move on. I think it's important for people to be ready to forgive when they're ready to forgive.
Right.
And because what happens is if I'm forced to say, you know what, I forgive you, then the next day you turn the TV on. Did you turn that channel on for her too? Exactly. So you have to really be prepared to forgive, and that takes time.
It does.
And that's what nobody wants to wait on. Time does not happen quick enough.
No, you're right.
So I think I think it's important to forgive, but I think it's even more important to be honest with yourself.
True.
Am I ready to tell this person I forgive them if I actually am not ready?
And you bring up a good point, because one of the things that my mother would always tell me is that when there is an offense, the person who was offended, they're the ones that set the timetable for when they're going to forgive the offense, not the offender. And a lot of times, if you've done something to someone, you want to rush and hurry up and forgive me, hurry up and forgive me,
Acting like this.
So, Shai, not only are you everywhere, but you're a wife, and you brought your husband here.
Yeah.
Talk to me about forgiveness from your vantage point. Now, obviously, this man would never, ever do anything like that.
Yeah.
But in a hypothetical situation, ever. Talk to me about forgiveness and putting a relationship back together.
I ain't do that.
I ain't got nothing, sir.
Well, it's interesting because I think that we put too much pressure on each other. And I always tell him that, not even saying the big things like cheating, right? Just simple stuff that we disagree on. We have to forgive each other quickly for things that we disagree on a daily basis.
Right.
And one thing I've always told my husband is like, listen, I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not perfect. I don't mean to do it on purpose, but I need you to understand that I need forgiveness on a regular, constant basis. You know what I mean? And I'm going to forgive you too on a regular, constant basis. So I think forgiveness has to be a lifestyle because we are human, and humans make mistakes, right? And if we love each other, we understand that no matter what, we have to forgive, and forgive quickly, and forgive frequently. Right? Yeah.
What do you think, sir?
I mean, we do. I guess to the point of what she's saying, because it's not a big thing. She's not cheating on me. She's not, calling me stupid out my name or something like that. It's little small annoying things. So sometimes for me, it's a little harder to forgive because I'm like, why are you doing this little stupid, little annoying thing in the first place? Like, I can understand if he was cheating on me, then okay, that's obviously there's a big problem going on, and that requires some research. Let's look into it, find out what's going on. But no, you just being annoying. I'm thinking that's just you. That's just
You bring up an excellent point, and sometimes the big offenses are a little easier to forgive because there's psychology behind them, right? I cheated because, or I did this because. But those little things, sometimes those are a little more difficult to forgive. Because it's like, you did not get eggs.
turn the TV down.
Right, exactly. Now, one of the things that Keela, you brought up, and I think it's important, is forgiving yourself. I'll be very transparent here. This is something that was very difficult for me. It still is. Forgiving me for the offenses that I have offended other people, and it's hindered me a lot. You guys all know I'm dating, right? Because I've been in your friends list, seeking out. Yeah, I can tell you that. My bad. But I found it difficult to date because I haven't forgiven myself completely for the things the mistakes that I've made in past relationships, and I'm so afraid that I'm going to repeat those mistakes that a lot of times I keep people at arm's length because I don't want to be that guy again. So how do we forgive ourselves? Is it necessary?
I want to jump on that. So with you saying that you have not forgiven yourself, dating for you will never be successful because it's gonna be easy for you to be kind of maybe at the edge all the time because the first thing you're looking for is where your mistake is gonna come from and where her mistake is gonna come from. So for you to forgive yourself, believe it or not, as cliche as it sounds, it really takes time. Wow. It takes for you to spend time with yourself, for you to do a T-chart and say, this is who I was, this is who I'm looking forward to become. How do I get there? How do I bridge that gap in between? If you know that maybe you are not a communicative person, then that's something you need to work on in order to become that guy. So you have to really spend time with yourself, take ownership of the things that you did do or did not do, and be willing and open-minded to change.
Absolutely. I always know you have something to say.
I have lived that life, and I lived it so long until I almost tore myself to pieces.
Right.
I was so hard on myself, and I wrote in my book, I said, and this is from a woman's point of view, you didn't feel what I felt when you did what you did to me.
Right. That's true.
Wow.
That's
so
true.
it's easy for me to say, can you forgive me? I love you.
That's
I love
right.
you.
That is right.
But I didn't feel what you
I'm
felt.
telling you, that is true.
So I asked her one day, I said, how long is it going to take you to forgive me? She said, how long did it take you to cheat?
My goodness. I gotta jump on that real quick.
Go ahead.
So when people are saying, okay, I did this, so now have you forgiven me? Have you thought about it? And you say that they didn't feel, what you felt being done to you. So that energy is transferred to that person. So the moment they get it off of them, the weight is no longer there. Right. So it's easy for them to be anticipating the forgiveness because you no longer feel it.
Yes.
Now you've dumped all of it on me, so I'm in the beginning stages of forgiveness. I first have to process it before I could even forgive you. So it's going to take much longer than the time it took for you to do this to me in order for me to even get to the forgiveness.
That's such a good point. You learn that energy is never destroyed.
Never destroyed.
Now, men and women speak differently depending on who's in the room. So I'm gonna kick y'all out. I'm gonna invite you to go out into the balcony, enjoy the view, have a little more wine, and me and the fellas are gonna chop it up because I think this is something that we need to talk about. So when we come back, we're gonna have a little man talk, and then I'm gonna take the guys and we'll leave and we'll have a little queen conversation. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, gentlemen. Now, as we always do, we had to get them ladies out of here. I want some real conversation, and I know your wife is in the room, so biting that tongue a little bit. So now that it's just the fellas, let's talk about forgiveness. Okay. Now, one of the things that I think is really powerful is that we don't forgive ourselves, especially as men. Why not? Why is it so hard for us to forgive each other and ourselves?
Well, for me, this is a pretty sensitive topic.
Right.
Because at a point in my life, I almost broke myself trying to be forgiven. I was with someone and I cheated on her. I asked her to forgive me. She stayed. She said she would, but it turned into me changing the dynamics of who I was as a man to try to be so kind, so caring.
Right.
So, and I was, but like I
overcompensated.
Overcompensated in every area, and she took advantage of it.
Oh wow. What do you think? Why is it so hard for men to forgive?
Maybe because, in our nature, we're so competitive.
Yeah.
And, we expect ourselves, or at least we think maybe society expects us to be this ideal. They expect us to be, I dare say perfect. Obviously nobody can be perfect, but, we hold ourselves to a high standard.
Right.
When it comes to sports or competition, even in the corporate America world, I myself, I was in right now I'm in an ultra competitive environment. I sell cars.
Okay.
Before that, I worked at an oil and gas company. So I've been in corporate America. I've had the blue collar type job. And like I say, as a man, what do you expected to operate at a high level in everything you do?
Right.
Right.
Especially as a husband. Right?
Absolutely.
There's an expectation that you meet your wife's needs.
Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of times as husbands, because I've been one before, our needs aren't always communicated. Right? Because a lot of times it's what do you want, baby? What can I do, baby? Sure. You know what I mean? And so we end up being in these situations where we put her needs before our own needs, and what is that saying? Happy wife, happy life,
yeah.
right? But so if you mess up though,
Yeah.
and you spent all this time, focusing on her,
Sure.
then how do you deal with the stuff that you've done?
I call it, I hid behind my hurt.
Say that.
Yeah, I hid behind my
I'm
hurt.
stealing that. That's gonna be my next book.
Okay, look, and I hid behind it because I thought who I was enough, and I had to regain who I was as an individual.
Right.
And we have to understand cheating does something to us too when we're caught.
Right.
Or when we have to be forgiven,
Mhm.
because it either makes us a good communicator or we shut ourselves off.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I became a communicator.
Right.
And I wanted more for myself.
Yeah. For me, forgiving myself means admitting that I did something stupid. And that's hard, especially when I'm amongst my peers.
Yeah.
Because if you have, an amazing woman, cheating on an amazing woman or hurting an amazing woman,
Yeah.
now you have to deal with the scrutiny of you. Wait a minute, her? You cheated on her? Her? And so there's this thing where I now have to deal with the fact that not only did I do something stupid, but I lost a great woman, right? And now I'm gonna have to figure out why did I do it? And can I now look at myself in a different way and not be who I feel like I am?
Yeah. And I mean, God forbid, the relationship gets to a point where it's completely dissolved.
Yes.
Because not every woman, even though they can forgive you, they don't have to take you back.
No,
so
they
like
don't.
you said,
That's a
you
good
have
point.
a good woman.
And that's not always a bad thing. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
That's not always a bad thing for them not to take you back, because then you live in this constant state of where you're constantly trying to atone for your mistakes. Everything you do is, you're atoning for your mistakes. You're scared to go out. You're scared to just be you.
And like you said, that overcompensation.
That overcompensation, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's almost better that she just leaves. That way you can start.
Well, I think it puts you in a point where you can love but not be in love. And I think the biggest part in my recovery of being able to forgive or be forgiven, when I realized that I was cheating more on God than her.
Wow.
Man.
So when I sat down and had a conversation with God about
Yeah.
it, and I brought it to Him and I laid it on His doorstep, it changed everything about dynamics of how I thought about being forgiven.
Right. And I think seeking forgiveness also means
Yeah.
seeking understanding why we do the things that we do.
Oh.
Because it's bigger than cheating. You know what I mean? Forgiveness can be any
A whole lot
aspect
of
of life.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I didn't spend enough time with my kid, or I did not give 100% of my job, or I didn't take the chances that I should have taken, and I forgive myself.
Yeah.
So I got to figure out, why did I do it, so that I can atone for it and be a better man as a result.
Well, Tony, I want to lay something heavy on you that I think I want to hear you talk about this, because we've had some other conversations.
Sure.
And I posed this to a few people, and only you could probably answer it. Not the way I expect, but I want to hear this.
Okay.
At what point do we lose our forgiveness?
Oh, wow.
Is it when we're 12, when we're 10? Do you notice if you spank a kid at 5, they go in the room and cry and come back and sit in your lap?
Yeah.
When did your kids stop coming and sit in your lap after you spanked them? When do we actually lose our forgiveness? And what is the basis on why we forgive so quickly and when we change?
I think that trust has a lot to do with that.
Okay.
I have a 20-year-old son, and I know exactly what you're talking about. There was a time where I could chastise him, or if I had to not spare the rod, every once in a while. But he always had a forgiving heart, because I think he always trusted that what I was doing was out of love and not out of a desire to hurt him. So when it comes to forgiving other people, the relationship has everything to do with my ability to forgive someone. Your ability to be that person that role that you're supposed to be in. That's what's going to decide whether or not I'm going to forgive you. So I bring it back to myself.
Okay.
Why is it so hard for me to forgive myself? Because I know I was not occupying the space that I should have been. I was not walking in my purpose. I was not doing what I was designed to do. I was not being the man that God made me to be. So until I came to that full awareness that I am, more than a conqueror, and I am everything that the Bible describes a man should be, only then I was able to say, okay, I forgive you, now that you're operating that role.
Yeah. Well, I think, for myself, I was able to forgive myself when I found myself.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, I mean, I was all these things people wanted me to be, but how can you forgive somebody that you don't even know?
Oh, God. Especially in your situation, being an NFL football player. I mean, everyone is projecting what they think you should be.
You are.
Right.
Yeah.
They're defining you from their living room.
What's funny, when I met my wife, we were friends in high school, and so we talked about something, and she was looking for somebody, and I was looking for something, but what I was looking for was somebody I could love unconditionally, and it was okay, and who could receive the type of love I had to give.
Right.
And she was looking for somebody that could pour and she could catch.
Wow. Now, were you in a position to receive?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause I think that's a
But
very
she,
important
but
part.
the thing is, she taught me how to receive.
She
I
taught
couldn't.
you how to do it. Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I didn't know how.
All right.
And one day she just set me down. I was getting inducted into my school Hall of Fame, and she was crying. And I said, "Why are you crying?" She said, "Because you can't for yourself." And that's when I knew I was gonna marry.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like that. Well, look here, fellas. I think the ladies are getting restless, so let's go ahead and freshen your drinks. And I want to show you guys something outside. You can see the stadium from here. It's crazy.
wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
let's go check that out.
Sure.
Come on.
Let's go.
So ladies, welcome to Queen Conversations. As you know, sense is actually common in this department. We had to break away from the guys and talk about forgiveness because truth be told, we are usually the ones doing the forgiving. So we have to break that down and talk about it. So I know you heard a lot of the things that the guys were saying. How did you feel about their perspectives on forgiveness as a whole?
Well, for me, what I thought was interesting is that when you just opened up saying most times we are on the other end of that, doing the forgiving.
Right.
And I realize, like, what doesn't get talked about is that we have to also forgive ourselves for allowing certain things to happen and to linger for certain amounts of times, and because you find yourself, and I know for me, asking, like, what the hell was I thinking?
Exactly.
Like, why would I allow
that
to happen?
Right.
You know, so understanding the importance of why you have to forgive yourself, because you do hold a guilty cloud.
Yeah.
That cloud is over you. You know, you start dealing with the feeling of rejection.
Right.
You know, the need to be needed.
Right.
All sorts of things tie into your head. But I think on the opposite side of that, too often are we in the seat of having to be the pressure of forgiving.
And I want to add something to that. And this may sound really, really crazy, y'all. So I was at a point where I didn't really know my worth. I didn't know my value. So I was easy to forgive repetitive actions, right? So it almost became so easy to forgive that I would have rather be cheated on than the minute mistakes. Because to me, it was like, okay, I know how to deal with being cheated on. I know how to get through that forgiveness process. It's the minute things that I feel like you're just being so careless with doing. Small things.
Right.
You go to the store, you get soy milk, and I only drink this type of milk. So little things, I feel like you were being very careless. So it was just like, okay, cheating. I know what to do with that process. I know how to heal, get all of my anger out, get my emotions together, figure out why did you do this, get to the bottom of it, ready to move forward. But then I figured out my value, my worth. I got my whole soul together.
Right.
And it was like, none of that is acceptable. You
Yeah.
get the right
That's
things, you don't
right.
cheat.
That's
Point blank.
right, period.
Exactly.
Point blank, period.
Yeah.
There are no exceptions to
Period.
that. But
None.
forgiving, you definitely have to forgive yourself, because if not, it's going to replay in your head. Why did I allow that? Why did I allow this? Why did I let him think that that was okay? Because it has to start with you. If you forgive them for you, energy-wise, emotionally, mentally, you've already got it in the bag. But if you make it based on, I need to forgive them so that they could feel better about what they did to me, you've already made a mistake.
Yeah.
Already.
But I also think inside of a relationship, like especially a marriage, if you have the culture of forgiving, right? It's something that you do constantly. Getting to cheating, I don't see how it happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? In my relationship with my marriage and my husband, getting to cheating, if that was to happen, I would be completely, I'm telling you right now, completely floored,
Right.
completely off my rocker,
Right.
completely like homicidal.
Right.
Right.
Because I understand that we have to cater.
Right.
We have to understand that there is things that that's happening in the
Right.
relationship. So I think if we step back and if we are definitely more concerned about the other person,
Right.
right,
Right.
and understand that men they hold a lot of guilt,
Right.
you know, they hold a lot of guilt for
For
not
things that may not even pertain to
Right.
us.
exactly for not doing well on the job,
Right.
for not
Right.
being a good parent,
Right.
or for not, you know, stepping up to the plate in different issues and different
Right.
situations, for not performing well, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Men hold a lot
They
of
do.
Right.
guilt.
Right.
And so if we're constantly like, baby, I forgive you for that. I love you. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? That I think with cheating will be least of our worries.
Yeah. But even in addition to that, sometimes it's like they may beat themselves up for, like you said, not
Sure.
performing to the magnitude that they would have liked to at
Yeah.
the job. But it's kind of a fine line because it's like we need to put that pressure behind them so
Sure.
that we can reassure them that I know what your potential
Say it.
is. So I
Absolutely.
need
So
to
good.
push you.
Yeah.
So because
You're very
you're
right.
beating yourself up because you didn't do as well, I'm not gonna, oh well baby, okay, it's okay, you didn't
Yeah.
do as well. No, I
Yeah.
know you can do
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
it happen.
Right.
Let's
Definitely,
make it
and time
happen.
out for coddling.
Right.
Time out for coddling.
Right, we
Get
have
that.
to cheers on that.
You know
ladies.
what? Let's
We
cheer
have
for
to.
that.
We have to.
Yes, we know we
Cheers.
expect and want more from our men, and
We have to.
it's our job to push them. But I also think it's our job too to put men back to where they're supposed to be in the
Oh,
right
absolutely.
places, right? And that's forgiving them.
Yeah.
One of the things that at Tony's book release, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Come on, Sarah.
It was amazing. I kept saying to myself, man, we need more honest men.
Yeah.
And what I meant by that is to hear men be vulnerable and be okay with being naked
Right.
about their truth. Like,
Yeah.
I did something wrong. Yes,
Right.
I am looked at as the lion in the jungle, but even lions lose battles.
Sure.
You know, even lions make not so good decisions.
Right.
You know, so I feel like those affirmations that they talked about, you know, building our men up, and,
Right.
and what you just said is,
Just
for me,
showing
it's so key.
appreciation. Right.
Yeah, them understanding, you know, you are as good as
Right.
you believe you are.
You're actually
And
better
you're
than what you
better
even
than that.
believe.
Yeah,
Right.
And, and them hearing that from somebody who they believe and know that loves
Right.
them
Yeah.
can mean the world, and it can mean the difference
Right.
when it comes to that ugly face of
Right.
cheating.
But prime example, when you introduced your husband, she started to say, this is such and such, and she said, no, this is the.
That's
She had to announce him as, this is not just my man, this
Yeah.
is the man.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of times it's hard for
That's
men
it.
to be so transparent and,
Yeah.
and naked.
Right.
In their truth, because a lot of people use this phrase unconditional love. No, a lot of relationships love with conditions.
It has conditions, of
Sure.
course.
They love with
Absolutely.
conditions,
Yeah.
so it's so
It's so
hard
true.
to, you know, be transparent, and for even a woman, and sometimes we make it hard for them. We don't always meet them where they are and then push
Yeah.
them to their
It's so
highest
true.
potential.
Well, ladies, you know, I know you guys have heard this before. I mean, it's very common
Mhm.
when you hear about the man cheating on the woman, and her forgiveness is relentless. It's constant. And then, God forbids, she does it. It's almost like you've
You've just
been knocked off the
damaged
pedestal.
man.
You've been knocked off the pedestal. Who I thought you were, you're nowhere close to that. Who are you? Why is it so hard for men to extend the same level of compassion
The ego is brutal.
that you
It's
did?
damaged.
It totally is. And
That
that's
has to be addressed, though. I need to know,
Yeah.
why is it so hard for men to do that same
I
thing?
think we should get into. We have to talk to Tony. We should
Yeah,
definitely
definitely.
get into that. We should.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
should.
yeah.
This was
We'll
good.
bombard
this is
Tony.
really
So
good.
we're gonna work on being forgiving, but we're also gonna encourage that the men are more forgiving too. We have to set the standards. And set
I
the
agree.
bar.
We do.
We do. But I want to thank you all for tuning in to Queen's Conversation. As you can see, it gets really, really real. I have to say that I am very honored to sit in the presence of these amazing women. Let's do one more cheers before we
Yes.
get out of here.
Cheers.
Cheers. Forgiveness.
Yes.
It's cool here, bro. Man, view amazing. Man, man. It's crazy, right? Let's get back in and see what these ladies are doing, man. You know what they're doing. I know they're in there talking crazy about it.
You know what they was out there talking about.
About you.
Welcome back.
Oh, you're bad.
And I got my cool points in too. I call my wife till I love her, Patty.
Welcome back to Conversations in the Wine Cellar. I got the group back together. I just couldn't have all these women talking crazy about us. I know you too. You know you're telling the truth. I know
We were
y'all
speaking
were.
facts.
I'm sure you
right?
were, but it's still, y'all mean it. Exactly. So we're talking about forgiveness, and while we were outside, we talked about something I think is something important that we need to put on the table, and that's the little things.
Yeah.
And how they play into when you make a mistake,
Right.
how they can help you achieve forgiveness because you're doing the little things. So speak on that, James, because you were talking about that to me outside.
Well, I was talking about a small thing that with my wife. She texts me every night, and we live in 2 different states, so let me clarify that. And so when she's not here, she'll text me, "Good night, I love you." Now, I don't text anything back because I want to wake up to that in the morning.
You savor it.
Yeah. I don't even look at my phone, but I can hear it go ding.
Right.
Now, I know it's there. I know it's there.
Yeah.
And one night it didn't ding. Out of 1,000 nights, one night it didn't ding.
Wow.
That next morning, I got up and I said, "Baby, is everything all right with us?" She said, what's wrong? I said, you didn't send me a good night. And she said I was tired and I just fell asleep.
Yeah.
And I said, it's acceptable, but it's not acceptable because I need you.
I need to.
Now,
That's my day starter.
you guys are husband and wife. I'm sure you have rituals that you have, and how do you feel when those rituals aren't seen?
Well, one thing that you'll be interested to know is we don't have any rituals.
Really?
We don't have any rituals, and if we're going to be transparent here, I would like that.
Of course.
I think, well, because I'm out a lot. I'm out, you know, sometimes I leave out of state and doing different things, and sometimes I'm out busy and doing different things, and he has his lifestyle as well.
Right.
And he assumes that all is well, so he
Until it's
never,
not.
but he never texts me. He almost never calls and checks up on me and things of that nature. In a way, it's kind of good because I'm like, he knows I'm good.
Yeah.
But in a way, I'm just like, where's my phone? Like,
I don't have nothing.
I have nothing.
Right.
Right?
Forgiveness.
But I understand that's just where we are. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's just his. I guess if no mail is good, no news is good news. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But if we did have those every now and then, I think we need to have a ritual.
I mean,
But it sounds like you have a ritual, and
Right.
no, but that's an understanding that the two of you have. Right.
Because if he was to call, you may answer the phone, babe, what's wrong?
Right.
Yeah, true.
So that
So
is
he's
your
not that
ritual.
overbearing how to do, which
Right.
I'm good with that. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
What you doing?
So
Right.
yeah,
Where you at?
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just deal with that.
Right.
This goes to, to
Oh,
me,
gosh.
it leads to patterns. And
True.
that's something that we don't pay enough attention to because that's a pattern.
Right.
And
That's
well, everything is made from patterns,
Right.
Whether it's tile or clothing or whatnot.
Right.
So her pattern changed.
Yeah.
And that drew an awareness. Your antennas went up like,
Like red
hold
alert.
on, wait.
Yeah.
But I didn't wait until
I
2
need
phone calls.
absolutely not.
Right.
And that
Address
is, see,
it.
and you can go
Right.
somewhere else with that.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the waiting to communicate what's important to you can hurt you more than
Say
help
that.
you.
Right.
It can hurt you more than it helps
You
you.
know what's so funny you said that because our pattern is that we don't communicate like that,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so one time he was like, "So babe, why you're not home?" I'm like, "Yo, what's up with that?"
Yeah,
You know,
what's up? Yeah.
I'm not using this pattern changing. You know, I only get there when I get there. Now you're asking me questions. Let's not do that. You know.
Right.
When we talk about, when we talk about treatment of it, I think patterns is huge. You know, I think that can expose problems in a
doubt.
relationship
Right.
where
Absolutely.
you're usually home at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right.
For the last week,
Right.
you've been home at 7:30.
Right.
Where have you been?
Right.
And I think we have to get to a point where we trust each other enough that we can ask those questions and not fear
Right.
that question is the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
Why are you questioning me?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right.
sorry. I'll cut
So
you off.
you
What were you
did-
gonna say? I'm
Good-
sorry.
Good that you say
I'm sorry.
that. So I have a question. Okay, so I like routines. You know, if you go to work at 7, I go to work at 7. We normally talk, ride to work. You get off at a certain time. We talk, maybe, and transition to our next destination. So at what point do patterns put you in a state of being too comfortable?
That's a great question. I think comfort is an important part of a relationship. However,
Comfort or covenant?
good distinction. So I know
It
for
has to be
me,
a different. I don't want to be too comfortable.
Right.
I want to be comfortable enough.
right? I know for me, and I think you speak to most people who are dating.
Okay.
We look forward to the good part. What we
Right.
call the good part, where
Right.
we can just sit on the couch with some sweats on, Netflix and chill, and it's all good, right? But that does breed complacency.
It does.
And I think that's the thing that you want to avoid. You want to make sure that you're not so comfortable with not receiving that phone call,
Right.
or not sending that text message, or whatever the case may be,
Right.
that you become complacent and forget that the courtship should never stop.
Right here.
It should never die.
Never stop.
My uncle told me how you got her
Is it
how you
how
that's how you keep her.
Yeah.
Right?
Both ways.
I will say
Both
this
ways.
though.
Right.
I will say this though, and I think a lot of women they like this about men is that women look for security in relationships.
True.
We can agree on that.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
To a certain degree, security comes from predictability. You know?
Come on here.
So you
It's
do.
your
Security comes from predictability.
When I know what to expect from you, and you live up to that, that expectation
I have
day
no
in
worries.
and day out, then that builds a level of trust.
Exactly.
When you start deviating from that, that's when
going
it's like,
on?
whoa, hey,
Right.
You're no longer predictable.
Right.
And I want to give a quick example of that with my fiance. I mean, one of the things that I absolutely adore about this man is that he would get offended if I would knock on the door without telling him I just parked. He wants to walk me from my car when I arrive, and he's gonna walk me to my car.
And he gets upset that you don't allow him to show his true
Exactly. It's like I'm at the door. It's like, what happened? Why didn't you
Yeah,
call?
yeah.
You know. So one day, I'm like you. That 1 in 1,000. I arrived at the door, and he just kind of let me in without the question.
Wow.
And I was like,
So you're not going.
hold on.
Yeah.
Never take me to right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a chivalry.
The beauty of it was he was able to check himself, and he said when I made mention of it, because I learned, I give him credit for this. He taught me how to talk to him.
Oh,
Yes. Oh, yes.
He taught me
Love
how to
language.
talk to
Why
him.
isn't he on my show?
Right.
No, you're so right. We have to teach. We have to teach each other how to love each other.
And I'll tell you, piggybacking, when I met my husband, I had a certain way that I dealt with men.
Right.
Right? Possibly kind of aggressive, possibly just the way that I was. Right.
Right.
Life makes you a certain way.
Right. Of course.
This man, I tried the same thing. He'd be like, hold up.
That's
I'm not comfortable
Right.
with the way
Right.
you're speaking.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Let me check myself. You right.
I don't come to him a certain kind of way.
Right.
Because he shuts down.
The man has spoken.
He set those
Yeah, he set
expectations. And I think in relationships, that's what we have to do. We teach people how to love us, right?
Right.
We teach people how to treat us.
Absolutely.
And if we don't, if someone is not willing to rise to the level of your expectation, then they shouldn't be in your life.
I agree.
I love the fact that your fiance, shout out to Mr. Fiance, I love the fact that he is demanding that you allow him to be chivalrous, because that's something that is missing in our society, especially with the dating. So he's showing you this is what you can expect from me.
Right.
Not only should you expect it, you should now demand it,
Right.
because that's
You
who I
deserve
am.
that.
Yes.
You a queen now.
you cannot have unconditional expectations with conditional thoughts.
Come on,
I'm
James.
still in that too.
Now I'm going to say on you.
I need a pen.
So I wish we could keep talking. Man, the conversations and the wine cellar just go crazy.
Right.
So I want to thank my panel again. My friends. I hate calling y'all panel because these are my friends. I want to thank you so much for coming in to Conversations with the Wine Cellar with Tony Massey. I'm going to let them give their final thought, just a really brief synopsis. Tell me who you are, what you do, and just a really brief synopsis of what you think about forgiveness. Tiffany, go ahead and start with you. Tell us who you are. Tell us how to find you out there on social media if you have those platforms as well.
I do. Tiffany Simple, TYFFANE.Simple, SYMPLE. That is on Facebook and on IG. I am the co-host of Black Coffee Talk Show and a relationship realist. And my nugget for forgiveness is be ready to forgive and walk in that
I
when
like
you
it.
do.
Miss Queen.
Miss Queen. My name is Kivia Jones. If you pull up Living Queenish anywhere, you can find me. Remember, Living Queenish is a lifestyle. It is definitely a lifestyle. My final thoughts on forgiveness: let it be for you. The forgiving has to be done for you.
All right, I like it. James.
James Williams, poet. My nugget on forgiveness is try to understand that God has forgiven us over and over again. What makes our eyes that weak that we cannot see, that we should forgive others, because our Father forgives us over and over again.
Absolutely.
So how can we not have it in our
That was a good one.
Miss Shy, who's going to be a household name very soon.
I love that. That's like my thing. Hey guys, my name is Shy, and I'm from Shiloh Entertainment. I am the host of Shiloh Radio and Shy Talk TV show right here in Houston, Texas. And I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Massey, for having me on the show. It's absolutely wonderful. And my nugget is that forgive quickly, forgive yourself. You know, God said He forgives us as far as the east is from the west, and He does not forget. He does not remember those things. So we need to be able to forgive ourselves of our past and of our past mistakes.
Right.
All right, guys, I'm Dante Claiborne. I'm Shalonda's husband. Yeah, just piggyback on what everybody said, and just keep this in mind. If you don't forgive, God can't hear your prayers.
Right. And on that note, this is Conversations in the Wine Cellar. I'm Tony Massey. You can find me on Facebook. Just put Tony Massey in the space bar and you'll find me. Tune in next time to Conversations in the Wine Cellar, where I have some more beautiful people with me, and we're going to keep having these conversations. Good night, everybody.
See you.
Good night.